Hey everybody, it's great to be with you today. I'm coming to you from Montreal. The gents there are very clearly back home in Toronto. We're here today with Michał Gramatyka, who is a member of parliament in Poland and a shanty singer. So we are super lucky that we ran into Michał 6 years ago now, somewhere around there, when we were at a shanty festival in Papenburg and formed a bit of a long distance relationship. We've been dying to get him onto the show to talk a little bit about Perły, Łotry, which is their shanty group, to talk about the history of shanties in Poland, just to cover off a little bit of how they got started, how the Polish culture approaches shanty music, and then also have a little bit of a conversation around what's going on in Poland, given the war in Ukraine, given the invasion, given Poland's great work in supporting the people in Eastern Europe. So really wonderful content that we're going to cover today. Just a real treat for us to have Michał, and let's get right into it.
To me, way.
I asked my friend Michał Mroza to sing this song partially in English and in Polish because we have a special bridge international from Canada to Poland. So especially for you, donkey riding.
Hey, was you ever in Quebec, launching timber on a deck, where you break a bleeding neck, riding on a donkey? Way, hey, away we go, donkey riding, way, hey, away we go, riding on a donkey. Was you ever on Cape Horn, where the weather's never warm, wish to God you'd never be born, riding on a donkey? Way, hey, away we go, donkey riding, way, hey, away we go, riding on a donkey. Między Doyle a Calais, raz na dole, raz na fali, chciałem palnąć sobie w łeb, a my zbijamy bąki. Way, hey, away we go, donkey riding, way, hey, away we go, riding on a donkey. Way, hey, away we go, riding on a donkey.
My name is Michał, and I'm a part of Perły, Łotry, Pers and Rascals, in fact.
Amazing. Well, Michał, really happy that we were able to find a time to connect with you to talk all things shanties. Just to dive right in, we've heard a lot about how popular shanties are in Poland. Like, is that true? Like, are they really popular? Like, is this, is it like pop music? Give us a sense of how popular shanties are over there.
Well, of course, it's not like a pop music, but I think that shanty music is much more popular in Poland. In some other countries, because for some other countries, shanty is a kind of traditional music, it's a folk music. In Poland, shanty, this is not our folk music. This is more a kind of interpretation of your songs, of some English songs, maybe French, maybe American. It all started with two journalists in the 1980s. One of them was Janusz Sikorski, and second one was Marek Szurawski. And these two guys bought some CDs, maybe not CDs, but some recordings in Europe, some recordings of shanty music, and they started to broadcast it in Polish radio, Polish public radio. And they created so-called shanty movement, shanty community in Poland. The shanty music in Poland has the community. It is maybe 10, maybe 15, and maybe 20,000 people who love this music, and they meeting each other on the festivals. They are recording the CDs, they issuing the EPs and some songs, some YouTube versions. but most of them are the sailors. Most of them are interested in sailing, in yachting. So this is just a simple consequence from yachting and sailing to shanty music. And it is true that we have some huge festivals, for example, Kraków, in Tychy, in Giżycko, and some other very, very difficult Polish cities, difficult to pronounce. And of course, that music is very popular here in my country.
And do most people understand that these are work songs and that there is a tradition, or do most people just think that this is really good, fun music?
Yes, they understand, because there is some shanty groups who are describing all the sources of shanty music, and we talking during our concerts, during our performances, that these are the work songs, and for example now we will perform a four-beater song to make a difference, to explain our audience what this song are about.
What was your first exposure to shanty music?
Well, my story is very maybe amusing, because I was 11, and my father took part in one of the first festivals in Kraków, and he recorded all the festival under his chair with portable tape recorder, and he brought some cassettes, magnetic tapes. In those days, this was the primary primary data carrier, in fact, and I listened to these recordings, and I just fallen in love with shanty, and all the rest was only the consequences of this event.
So that's interesting. Your dad essentially pirated an early shanty festival. He was a bootlegger.
Yeah. It was a bootleg, but this was the times that it was impossible to buy such recordings in official stores. There were no Spotify, there was no Tidal or Apple Music or some other ways to listening music.
Yeah. Now you don't still have that cassette, do you?
I don't think so. I think I lost it.
Yeah, lost to the tides of time. That's okay.
So I see you wearing the Distant Shores CD T-shirt there, and I was listening to that album earlier, and you've got songs that are in English, some where you're mixing English and Polish, and some that are songs entirely in Polish. Like, are there any like traditional Polish sea shanties, or are they all sort of translations, adaptations?
Well, to be honest, we don't have a huge naval tradition in Poland. We don't have, as far as I remember, there was one and only sea battle, and we won this battle. This was the battle between the citizens of Gdańsk and Swedish Battle of Oliva. But it was one and only. So all our songs are found and arranged by Perły Łotry and performed by Perły Łotry. And what we do with Polish lyrics is to tell the people the story of this song. For example, we are singing "Bully in the Alley." And we did a Polish lyrics, which is not the same, not exactly the same as "Bully in the Alley." It's completely different, but the melody of this "Bully in the Alley" we transformed to Polish words "Burza na nas wali." The storm is coming.
A wyszło tak, bo wzrok mój spoczął na dziewczynie.
Hej, bo burza na nas wali.
Piękny niczym jak, który bryzgać pianem płynie.
Burza, niech to wszystko szlak.
Dalej
Rwijmy stąd, bo burza na nas wali. Hej, bo burza na nas wali. Rwijmy stąd, bo burza na nas wali. Burza niech to wszystko szlak.
But the melody of this chorus is similar to the original. And what we are doing in Poland, we are trying to give some new versions of the traditional folk songs.
I have to say, one thing that really stuck with me was when we met you guys in, I think it was Papenburg in Germany at a festival. And after the festival, you guys sang Northwest Passage entirely in Polish. And that blew me away because it's such a Canadian song, and it's Stan Rogers. And I was amazed to hear it entirely translated into Polish. As a Canadian, that was really something.
And make a northwest passage to the sea. In Polish. Spróbuj chociaż raz norwestowe przejście zdobyć.
Yes, and this is very important song for Polish shanty lovers, because we've got some different versions of this song performed by some different shanty groups, but all of them know and all of them respect that this is a Canadian song by Stan Rogers. I met Stan Rogers several times during my shanty activity, so we all know this fact.
I'm curious about something. You mentioned that you heard Stan Rogers many times, and also I'm aware that Johnny Collins, one of the great figures of the shanty world, he passed away in Poland, as I understand. I think the story Jim McGeehan told us, if I'm not mistaken, was they were coming back from a festival and they were in the taxi and they sang, I think Johnny sang Rolling Down to Old Maui, and then he got to the hotel and wasn't feeling well, and he passed away shortly after. So how much
one day during the festival in Tychy, I jumped with Johnny Collins in the elevator. Probably our weight was too huge for this elevator, but I remember it very well.
So I'm curious, how many of these sort of big figures of the shanty world have come to perform in Poland, and how many of you heard, like when you heard Stan Rogers, whether that had been in Poland or in North America?
I met Stan Rogers, as far as I remember, in Poland or in one of the festivals in France, in Brest or in Paimpol. Sorry, I don't remember. Many of great figures of shanty music are performing during the festival in Kraków, because Kraków invites them to perform there, because as I said, this is most important Polish festival, and the chiefs of these festivals, they want to show to Polish audience how they are singing shanty abroad. What way they are singing shanty, for example, in the United States, in England, and that is why they are inviting big figures of shanty music to Kraków.
So tell us a little bit about the band, about Perły, Łotry. Like, how did you start?
Well, the project called Perły, Łotry started in 1992. I joined this group in 1998, so I'm singing. We are singing together more than 23, 24 maybe years. Well, we are six and we are vocalists. Of course, this is only the hobby for us. So we are working in many different areas. But as a hobby, we just sing in shanty. Perły Łotry is a cappella group, and the name Perły Łotry means pearls and rascals. This is a kind of oxymoron, the kind of contrast that this music is beautiful like a pearl, but we are not very beautiful. We are just rascals. And this is also very amusing stuff, because every journalist who is trying to do an interview with the group, the first question is, who is the pearl and who is the rascal? So we have to answer such questions.
That's great. So you mentioned that you've met Stan Rogers and you're taking shanties that you've heard from elsewhere. But where do you typically find your songs that you choose to sing with the group?
Well, we are trying to search some files, some books, some notes. For example, when we took part in the festival in Brest, in Bretagne, in France, we bought a book about whale songs, and we found 2 or 3. And we liked the melody, so the next step was to arrange these songs and then to perform them. For example, on our last CD, Distant Shores, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, and many other streaming services. For example, we found Cape Breton Lullaby. This is also Canadian song, and I asked my friends Paweł and Jacob from Shanty group Banana Boat, probably you know him very well, to translate the lyrics into Polish, and the result is that we are singing 3 parts of this song, and the first and the last is in English, but the middle is in Polish. So just to demonstrate, just to show how this song would sound singing in Polish.
Amazing. And the second track on the album, My Mother Told Me, that's become a bit of a hit for you. It's a traditional Norse song, I think, a Viking song.
The story of My Mother Told Me is we've been watching the Vikings, like millions of people who loved this TV series on Netflix, and there was a 4th season, and the Vikings are attacking a little French country. Of course, they killing everyone, and they going back to their boats, and they are singing, "My mother told me someday I will buy." Oh, it sounds good, and of course we did the melody, then we arranged this song, then we published it on YouTube.
My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores, stand up on the prow. Noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven. Few many foemen,
And the story of the success began because this song had more than this live recording had more than 500,000 streams on YouTube. So we did a studio version, and this studio version has now more than 20 million streams on Spotify, only on Spotify. So this is really huge success.
And I think there's a remixed version as well with a DJ. Is that right?
Yes, the guy, the Lian Boutiadi, is this DJ from France, LB1, his nickname, and he called me and he asked me, well, this is very nice song. Maybe I will do a remix, the techno version. Gosh, techno version, okay, no problem.
Stand up on the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven. Few many foemen,
The next one was Dr. Peacock from Holland, and he did French core version, and all these versions has millions of stream. Dr. Peacock did 15 or 16 millions. LB1 has now more than 22 millions, more than the original version. I don't know why, because original version is much better, but you know.
That's awesome.
You mentioned that Poland doesn't really have much of a naval tradition, and with the exception of a place, perhaps like Gdansk. So I'm curious about something I've heard. Maybe you can verify this for us. So what I heard is that during the communist days, the only way to sort of get out of Poland and to interact with the outside world would be to be in the merchant navy. And I've heard that as a result, Polish people kind of look to shanties as sort of a form of freedom music. Can you say if that's true or not?
Well, to be honest, in communist times, any kind of music from the Iron Wall was maybe not forbidden, but it wasn't that kind of music in Poland. So there were some journalists in the radio who presented the recordings. I remember my first sessions with the music of such groups like Clan of Zymox or, for example, Marillion or some other artists. It was impossible to go to the supermarket and buy the recordings legally. It was just impossible because there was no such kind of music in those days.
So, you're not just a shanty singer, you're also a member of the Polish parliament, and must be a pretty challenging time to be in government with a war next door and a massive influx of Ukrainian refugees. What's it like in Poland right now?
Well, this is the same situation like in any other country. Of course, we accepted and we invited to Poland many Ukrainian refugees. Many of them are now returning to Ukraine. It is the movement of refugees is now from Poland to Ukraine, but many of them are still living in Poland. We are trying to help them, and we are we keep our fingers crossed for Ukraine to win this war. In fact, the front line is 2, maybe 3,000 kilometers far from Polish border. Of course, all European countries are trying to help Ukraine. They are sending weapons, they are sending the financial aid. Well, this is not only Ukrainian war, this is European war versus Russia.
Because one of the things that historically has been the case in times of war is that there'll be usually an artistic or a musical movement that happens. Folk music in particular being a music that often has something to say about great power conflicts and war and what that means to the people. Have you seen anything new in Polish art or in Ukrainian art that is coming out of the current situation?
There is many Ukrainian folk groups performing their music here in Poland. We do like this music because this is absolutely fantastic music. By the way, Ukraine in those days, 300 or 400 years ago, was a part of Poland. So we have common history, and this is very, very interesting because this history was very difficult, and now we are just united. These two nations help each other, and this is absolutely fantastic, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I think this is an important historical point to make, that there was a lot of tension around the south of Poland, the northwest of Ukraine, historically over hundreds and hundreds of years. My great-grandmother was born in Chichelnik, which was Poland at the time when she was born, and is now Ukraine. And then amidst all of that historical tension, you now have billboards along the Polish border that read, there's no free Poland without a free Ukraine. And I think that, to your point, Michał, this is maybe not just a European war, but perhaps a global war for democracy. And kudos to the people of Poland on being by far the greatest European contributors towards the efforts in the Ukrainian war. I think that only the United Kingdom and the United States have contributed more dollars to the war effort, and I do believe that Poland has contributed more per capita than any other nation. So huge kudos there. And to your point, historically, I think this is an interesting thing to look at, where over centuries there's famous stories of the Crimean Tatar invaders coming into Krakow. And then the famous story of the trumpeter standing in the tower and trumpeting at the arrival of the Crimean Tatars. And that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that reveille, that same song on trumpet, is played in Krakow to this day as a reminder of those Crimean Tatars coming and invading our territory. So long history going back between the two nations of war against each other. And now to see this coming together in this time, I think that between our common pain that was suffered throughout World War II for the invasion of the Nazis and the Holocaust and all the non-Jewish Polish people that died as well in the Second World War, everything that happened with Holodomor in Ukraine, and furthermore all of the tensions there. Really, it could have gone a lot of ways, and to see the coming together of the Polish and Ukrainian people here has been something that I think is certainly one of the good stories out of all the terrible things that have come out of the invasion.
Yeah, I think we are writing today the next pages of this history, and this is what we should do, and this is what we do. In fact, help the Ukrainian nation to win this war, because this is, as I previously said, this is war between not between Russia and Ukraine. This is war Russia versus Europe.
I was reminded when we were speaking earlier, you were mentioning that tapes from of other styles of music were maybe not illegal in the Soviet Union, but they're very it could be dangerous to have that kind of music. And I read in the Dave Bedini book, it was called Around the World in 57.5 Gigs, and he talks about that, the sort of underground rock sort of scene in parts of Russia, where people would make homemade instruments, and you'd be copying tapes and passing them around in a sort of black market kind of economy kind of way. And he talks as well about, during World War II, the swing kids who were in Germany, who were people that really advocated for jazz and African American music, and would go to dances, even those forbidden, and a lot of them ended up in concentration camps for their love of jazz music. And I'm wondering do you think people appreciate music more if they sort of can't access it easily? Does it become more of a scene? Does it become more of a culture and a community where you're physically copying the medium and sharing it that way? Do you think that that's part of the reason why shanty music had a strong root in Poland?
Well, of course, always this is natural that forbidden good is much more interesting than legal. But I don't think it is the main reason of shanty music popularity in Poland. We just love sailing and singing about the hard work on the sea. And there is many people interested in such areas, such things, and that is why they are listening to our music. For example, for our band, for Perły Łotry, most of our listeners are from the United States, but not only from the United States, but also from Turkey, Canada, of course, Europe, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, all around the world. Of course, thanks to My Mother Told Me tune, thanks to this track, and I'm extremely satisfied. Anytime I can hear this fragment steady course to the haven, steady, because this is steady. This is part of our arrangement, and this is copied by some other bands on commercial market. Of course, they also produced this song. So this small part of our arrangement is for me something like digital signature of Perły Łotry that we touched this song.
Great. If we cover the tune, I assure you that we will pay tribute by building in that piece.
So look, we are hoping to get over to Poland at some point in the next few years, and you just mentioned that you've got listeners all over the world. So if somebody wants to come check out Shanties in Poland, maybe come to a festival, what would you recommend?
Well, of course, my hometown, I mean Tychy. This is one of the most interesting festivals in Poland. It takes part in August, the last week of August. So of course, feel invited. I try to invite also Pressgang Mutiny to take part in this festival. The next one I love is the Shanty Festival in Kraków in February. This is, I think, most important Polish Shanty music festival. And many artists from Europe, from United States, from England took part in this festival. Did you ever perform in Poland?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We would love to.
Okay, no problem.
So what's next for you, and what's next for Perły Łotry?
Well, we are going to record the My Mother Told Me song with a company of orchestra. There is a famous orchestra in Tychy. Its name is AUXO, and this is really good orchestra. And I'm going to record this song with a company of this orchestra. Maybe it will do next 20 million streams. To jest właśnie, kochani, potęga naszej szantowej wspólnoty, że goście, których poznałem wiele lat temu na jednym z festiwali w Niemczech, dzisiaj poprosili mnie o taki właśnie wideokast i na tym właśnie polega siła naszej szantowej wspólnoty, że potrafimy to zrobić przez Zooma, dzielą nas tysiące kilometrów, a my sobie po prostu rozmawiamy o żeglarskiej muzyce. Słuchajcie szant, kochajcie tę muzykę, ona jest fantastyczna. I ci goście też są fantastyczni. These guys are fantastic, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michał. This was amazing.
Well, I think we have a huge dziękujemy bardzo for that episode there. I'll tell you, it makes me feel like pulling out my Duolingo and brushing up on my Polish, because my babcia would be ashamed if she knew how much my vocabulary has suffered. But
I just assumed at the end that he was talking smack about us. He's like, these idiots.
Yeah, no, that was really, really something to get all those insights. And clearly a real welcoming relationship between Canada and Poland in the shanty scene starting to open up here. So I'm hoping we can get those folks over to the East Coast. Hopefully we'll make our dreams come true next year and head over to Kraków or Gdańsk or Tychy, like he was mentioning. So that would be great.
We also have a little bit of news in that this is our second last episode of season 1. So our next episode will be with Martin Hugel, son of the guy you may have heard of, Stan Hugel. Yeah, so if you like what you've just seen, it really does help us if you hit that like and subscribe button. It'll also keep you posted on upcoming episodes so you don't miss a thing. So yeah, I guess with that, on behalf of all of us, we'll see you next time.
You guys are going to go sing some shanties in real life there, eh?
Oh yeah.
That's true. Yeah, Salter Street Brewery, 3 o'clock today.
For any listeners in Toronto, it's monthly. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and come sing with us.
Yeah, live singing is happening again.
I'm going to sing all your best songs, Richard.
Take them.
I'll sing the worst ones.
All right, bye everybody.
Daddy's on the bay. stars away. Gdy teatr cieni gra, płomyki lamp bledną, jak ruma grączy wiatr, pędzi tam, gdzie mroki żegną, galopem pośród łąk, gdzie majry nurt szemrze dla ciebie balladę, balladę, mroki prześpi złe. Driftwood is burning blue, wild walk the wall shadows, night winds go riding by the locky meadows, on to the break of day. Close Myra stream singing Kajigu lullaby, lullaby, sleep the dark away. Zaśpiewaj balladę, balladę, uśpij światła